I do want to use this time for us to just talk a little bit more about some of the questions you guys had, and we're probably going to touch on a few things on this as well, but I want to make sure you guys watch this. Again, you've probably seen it enough times now where it hopefully makes more sense what I'm doing here. I'm going to do some stuff that's different, like the teeth are something that we haven't done before. We've done a little bit with the Abe character, but not to this extent. And you see me kind of pulling it from anywhere at this point and just kind of making it sense. But some of the questions you guys sent me, which is kind of interesting too, is and I get this quite often, is people ask me like how far would I take the sculpting knowing that I'm going to throw them in Photoshop. And the answer to that is like there's no real answer for it. It's just I think the more I do it, the more I know how comfortable I am in Photoshop, and quality wise what can I achieve from 3D and then from Photoshop. What I do a lot of is I would stop very soon actually and take it to Photoshop and try to finalize it in Photoshop, but later on if I'm doing the final design, final concept for it, then I'll go back to ZBrush and actually sculpt it more, and then just do it again. Like I would use Photoshop to be kind of a playground so I can test things out and see how things are going to look. Once I'm happy, then I'll go back to ZBrush and I'll finalize the sculpt a little bit more, so when I render I'll have more to work with, and at the end of the day things will start looking better because I'm not the greatest painter in Photoshop. I can kind of work my ways around it, but I'm not the best one to paint things from scratch. So it really depends on the project, but I do like to come back and finish it out in 3D to get a lot more information into the sculpt. Which brings me to another question, which was just redesign in general. If I redesign, if I do a lot of tests before committing to something, and the answer to that is yes. A lot of the sketching that I do that are fast, it is just design tests, right? I'm not committing to anything final. The reason why I'm trying to get fast at these is because I want to be comfortable enough where I can just do a bunch of them. I could do 4 or 5 a day and then pick one, right? I don't want to spend a lot of time just refining the one option. Especially if you're working at a production, you want to make sure you're giving options for people to look at, and options that look far apart from each other, not just a couple of changes here and there. I want to make sure I can sculpt something from scratch and give different options for the same design idea, for the same character, and be fast at doing that. And again, this is it's something that we're talking about, just more designing in general, right? Like I think sketching goes beyond just concept art in general. Like if you are a character artist and you know how to sketch, you're practicing your sketching, once you get a character, you'll be a lot more comfortable with the result that you're going to get, and a lot faster results with the same or better quality. I think better quality in general, because you are making mistakes, you are practicing your shapes or forms, you know what to do. So that's why I think playing up with sketching, doing like lunch crunches. There was a time not too long ago, like people were doing a lot more lunch crunches, like sketches during lunch, things like that. It just helps you, understand design a little bit more. Even if you're copying a concept for someone or trying to execute a concept from someone, you are studying like some of the decisions that other artists had to make on their designs, and you're breaking that down. If you have that mentality, you will get better. You will make your mental library, your shape library, a lot stronger than before. So that's why I think sketching is good, providing different options. But you get that by sketching more. There's a lot of production artists that kind of struggle a little bit more with that, right? And that's fine too. Like some people will be more on the production side where they will get a concept, they will just execute on that. But I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you're probably not one of those guys. You like to create a little bit more. You like to be fast on your workflow. So, there are places for both things. And it's fine if you like to just be, take your time, be a little bit more production heavy. That's totally fine. But if you are one of those guys where you like to create, you like to be a little more free form with your art, make sure you're sketching like every single day, at least a little bit a day. Just get it there. Like this stuff doesn't take a lot of time. Like make sure you're practicing, right? Another question that kind of relates to that is just inspiration in general. To me, it's very easy to get inspiration. Either if it feels like for movies, if you go to ArtStation, like all the artists, Pinterest, museums, like history in general, like there's so much out there. If you start looking at, samurai or, anything, honestly, like even in history, like costuming in general, like that stuff is just super inspiring. Like just being able to try to replicate some of that stuff and then create on top of it, that's like super inspiring to me. Like that's what I've been trying to do more than going to ArtStation and trying to look for concept art from other people, just trying to kind of look on the source and get inspired by that. It's what, like even watching movies, you can start then picking it up, what people are using in certain movies and what other artists are grabbing it from, like just actual history. That stuff is super inspiring to me. But just, in general, just series, movies, there's so much out there that inspires me, being able to give my own twist to some of those designs and being able to create characters like that is like super inspiring. There's like inspiration everywhere. So another question that was interesting too is just how much time do you put into sketches, or how much time do you study every day? We kind of touched a little bit on that. I do recommend you guys do it every day, at least an hour. I think I keep saying that if you start, and that goes back to like just how people ask me about scheduling and how I keep myself motivated and all that. The secret is just starting. Like once you start something, if you start sketching something, if you're a little bit like me, like you want to finish it, right? You just it will haunt you until you finish. And then if you finish, you will get some satisfaction out of it. It will push you to do more. And that's how you get yourself into that mindset of just pushing yourself, doing a little bit of it every day. Don't think about even portfolio. I'm not building portfolio. At this point in my career, I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to build portfolio, but I just do it because I am getting better. Right? I feel that I'm expanding my mental library, my shape library. I'm getting better every single day. Every time I do a project like this, I'll find something new. Maybe I'll get faster. Maybe my design sense, since in this case I'm trying to replicate or do my own interpretation of Mignola, right? Like with the Hellboy stuff. Like I am learning some of the decisions that he was making. I was looking at all the cover art that he made and just composition wise, like little tricks that he does on every single art. Like you start picking up on some of those things, and so every time you do a study, there's a little bit of that knowledge that goes into your knowledge. So I do recommend you guys try to push yourself to a little bit every day or every other day. So we're getting to the end of this guy here. A lot of the things that we've seen before, just execution on this one. Trying to get the anatomy. Now the pose is a little more extreme, so I'm posing it, early enough on the body, just trying to get that shoulder and the clavicle to feel nice, early on. I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to sculpt the neutral, because then that would kind of mess me up when I was going to do the final pose. So I'm going into the pose a little earlier than before, but again, keeping it very, very simple to what we've seen before. It's a lot of just manipulating the shapes. Now that I'm doing this little moon, which it was even more complicated than I expected, manipulating primitive shapes to try to get into shape. The knowledge of the face, of the human face in this case, played a huge part on this character, because even though he is more of like a demon type of character and has a lot more like feline kind of feline structure to his face, the human is still there, proportionally still there. The mouth, the way the nose flows with the mouth, and you can kind of see. I always go back to like how simple it is, right? Like things are low res, the shapes are there, things are clean, and you want to make sure your models are like that. So now let's jump back. You guys can watch the other extra videos. That is just me sculpting some of the pieces that are left. There's some cool tips and techniques on those, or just jump into the texturing part and we can start refining everything and taking it to final.